Well, hey there, HVAC pros and enthusiasts. Are you ready to take your skills to the next level? The HVACR Learning Network has just launched an exciting new e-learning course, High Performance Heat Pumps. And guess what? We're giving you free access to the first 2 chapters. Whether you're in the field, training for that next step, or simply want to sharpen your expertise, this course is packed with everything you need to understand and master high-performance heat pump systems, especially inverter-driven cold climate heat pumps. And the best part? You can access it anytime, anywhere, right from your favorite mobile device. It's HVACR learning made flexible and convenient for you. So what are you waiting for? Click the link. Dive into the HVACR Learning Network and start your free trial today. Your journey to HVACR mastery begins here.
Refrigerant recovery is the foundation for life cycle refrigerant management, as without safe refrigerant recovery, there cannot be reclamation or reuse. AGAS Rapid Recovery is an on-site refrigerant recovery service that gives businesses an easy way to contain their used refrigerants.
Not a whole lot of companies do what we do. We handle some of the grunt work that they don't want to do, and we can do it 10 times as fast as they can. The recovery portion, the cylinder exchanges, and buying back used material that otherwise can't be used.
We play a big role with our contractors, whether that be HVAC, mechanical, or demolition contractors. Our whole purpose is to get on site and not only help them save money in the project, but offer an environmental solution.
We do not want any of these products getting vented to atmosphere, no matter how low the GWP is. Now it's not only the cylinder to recover the product, but it's making sure the technicians have equipment that are rated to work with flammable gases. That's really important for people.
So by us being able to contain it in cylinders, reclaim it, we're saving the environment one recovery at a time.
My name is Mike Idle. Today I wanted to give you an overview of Amatrol's T7300 HVAC control system. This system is designed to align a hands-on workstation, as you see here, along with interactive curriculum to teach the operation, installation, application, and troubleshooting of control systems related to the HVAC industry. As components and features of HVAC systems get smarter in both the residential and commercial fields, it's important for current and future HVAC technicians to be trained up. What types of circuits are used, familiarity, learning, operation, maintenance, troubleshooting are all important areas to cover in that.
Here at NAVAC, we are obsessed with delivering the best HVAC tools on the market. Our tools are built for professionals and engineered for precision, just like Harley-Davidson motorcycles. NAVAC Nation, it's time for you to feel the power both on and off the job site. Let's stand up in our pursuit of perfection. From coast to coast, NAVAC forges the path forward. Wherever you are, we will be right beside you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Did you know the ESCO HVAC show? We are actually joining remote. We are hanging out. Let me grab one of those outside views. We're hanging out at the Home Depot north of Indianapolis today. We're spending a little bit of time doing some remote broadcasting. You know, finally, it's getting warm enough here where we can get the studio out again and start doing some remote productions. We actually did get some more accomplished this week. Let me hop over to one of the cams. We've been talking about bringing in some of our new equipment, new products here recently. Well, check this out. So on one of our walls, we've actually got our Amatrol trainer set up. Let me go grab, let me grab camera 3 real fast. Check that out. Isn't that cool? So we got our T7045 Amatrol trainer, went down to Louisville, Kentucky, picked that up here a few weeks ago, started installing all of our cutaways, our DAC cutaways, which is another component company from Amatrol. We're going to do a lot of classes on our refrigeration coming up here in the very near future. Let us know where you're joining in from. Grateful that everyone is spending time with us this afternoon. Jocelyn and I just came back from AHR, where we seen a lot of new stuff, a lot of new products. And one interesting thing that we seen, which kind of sparked our curiosity for this conversation, was an interview with Bosch. And I'm going to play that real quick and check this out.
All right, Trevor, there's a very exciting thing on this particular unit, right? So this is the Bova series.
Bova series, 3-ton Ultra.
Right.
So exciting new unit there.
Yeah.
Too.
Just on its own. Like, we can talk about this all day long. There's a feature that you just showed that I can't wait to talk about. Okay.
Yeah.
So, big controversy in the industry. Do we braze? Do we flare? Do we use compression style fittings or any type of mechanical fitting? And Bosch has went to the point of saying, you know what, those mechanical fittings, if UL rated, if done properly, are a really good option, especially with A2L refrigerants, right? Mildly flammable refrigerants. You've actually went to a pre-installed mechanical connection prepped for mechanical fittings.
Yeah,
Tell me
correct.
about that.
Straight out of the factory.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of feedback from the field of when you're going to have press fittings.
Right.
Make the bells longer.
Yep.
So
Give
that
me
we can
both
cut
options,
it off.
whatever.
And do either option.
Yeah.
So now we said, you know what? Let's just do press from the get-go.
Right. And are you just this unit?
No. So over time, we're going to phase this into the rest of our lineup. So
Really?
look forward to it on the rest of IDS lineup.
So
Yeah.
look forward to seeing mechanical press fittings on all of the Bosch unitary products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge time savings. No more brazing
Right.
with nitrogen. Saves you from getting fire permits, fire watches, things like that.
Huge.
The risk and liability.
Huge add-on. Haven't seen that from anybody yet.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
We've been doing this in our own testing facilities for years now.
Okay.
So all our lab testing, AHRI testing that we do out of Watertown, Massachusetts, all our labs, press fitting.
Okay. Love it. Thank you. Can't wait to see him in the field.
Okay, so that brings up an interesting perspective, doesn't it? So that's the reason we're spending some time with Quick Fitting today. We got Adam joining us. How's it going?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for inviting me. I
Great.
really appreciate it.
Well, no, we're very excited to have a manufacturer here with us to help kind of walk through this transition. Scott's hanging out with us today. We're going to be doing some hands-on demos here in a little bit, show you how to properly do the procedures, because that's really the important thing, is making sure that we're doing the processes and procedures properly. So we just heard from Bosch that is looking at things a little bit differently. And we're so grateful you're all joining us. David Harrell joining us in from Cincinnati, Tom Grunstra up there in New York, Katie, glad to have you here, Katie. Hey, Katie, how's those tools doing from Rector Seal? I just actually used the flaring tool a while ago and the swaging one. That was actually pretty good setup. Yeah, same way here, Paul. So we're into the 40s today, which was nice to be able to get the studio out. We actually had enough sunshine over the last few days to get the batteries charged up enough where we can sit out here in the parking lot and broadcast. I've noticed my video's a little glitchy, I think because it is overcast this afternoon. Our Starlink's probably not quite what it should be. George, join us from Kentucky. Yeah, you're getting the snow and the weather as well. Glad that everyone is here, and really just appreciate hanging out with us to have this conversation. So let's talk a little bit about why we're looking at mechanical fittings more than we have in the past. I think before we get into the experience that I had today, I'd like for us to dive a little deeper into quick fitting. So, Adam, do you want to kind of walk us through a little bit about the history? And Adam Horwitz, and you are CEO now, correct?
I am correct. Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to talk about quick fitting. We've been in business since 2007, and we saw challenges in putting pipe together, and whether that's pipe for HVAC or plumbing or electrical, we saw challenges. And so in 2007, our founder started experimenting with easier ways to connect pipes and more reliable ways to connect pipes, and just different ways that those pipes can be connected. So since 2007, we've continued to evolve, and we now have 200 patents to our name. So we're constantly innovating to make it easier and more reliable to connect pipes. We do our engineering, rapid prototyping, and our laboratory in Providence, Rhode Island. So, by the way, it looked nice and warm near you. Not quite as warm here right now. We still have a lot of snow on the ground. We had 2 feet a couple of weeks ago, so we're still digging out.
That's a lot.
And like I said, we started off in the water world, where we created fittings to connect pipes. So something like a push to connect fitting, where you take a fitting and put it in, and it's locked down. That's where we've come from. I'm sorry, I'll do that again.
I was bringing it up so we could look at them.
One of the nice things is ours are removable, so I can actually put that together again. It's just a fitting and a pipe and locked down. So that's water. And then on that page, we're going to show it more, but we also have our HVAC fittings, and we make fittings for press connections as well. So we understand, and we've innovated around how to connect pipes. So we like to say we make connections happen. So that's who we are.
That's a good slogan. And you're even in the electrical world, which is another conversation that we're going to start having. Because for those that are joining us, our primary audience is HVAC refrigeration educators, but our industry is evolving quite a bit, and we have to start talking a lot more about hydronics. We always talk about electrical. It's one of the core components of what we do. But now we really have to start thinking a lot about what does the future of our industry look like? What should we be teaching in the classrooms? Because we're going to do a lot of transition. Scott, give us a little bit of your background, because I enjoy where you have came from and where you're working on now, because it's actually kind of near and dear to what this show is trying to help teach.
So I've been a rep in Central Indiana for probably about 30 years now. Started off in plumbing.
Yep.
And then kind of transitioned to more of a commercial mechanic.
Sure.
So we're the local rep for quick fitting here in Indiana and a couple other states that our agency covers. And but yeah, a lot more commercial, mechanical, not so much residential, but we do touch on that space a little bit. But there's been a lot of construction, a lot of growth in that commercial, mechanical, industrial space, especially right now.
Right now, we talk a lot about the data centers, the growth in data centers here on the show, and we really, when we start talking about what is growing, it's every sector of HVAC and refrigeration. We are growing by leaps and bounds, and so understanding how we can do best practices, best procedures, and getting that information into the classroom is critical. So before we dive into the next section, I want you all to help us paint this picture of why mechanical fittings can be important. For me, I grew up like probably most of you, where brazing was the only option that was taught. It was what we did. Flowing nitrogen was encouraged, wasn't always followed as procedure as it should be. And then today, in our world of A2L refrigerants, it's required for us to be flowing nitrogen anytime that we're doing brazing. And what we're seeing by a lot of our manufacturers is failed compressors, failed systems due to a lack of that. And so we look at, well, what are the options? If brazing is not being done properly in the field, what solutions do we have? And brazing is not something that is going down in price. And actually, I think I'll wait, because I've got an example it saddens me sometimes when I think about the cost of how things are escalating in our industry. So Adam, let's just talk now. Let's dive a little deeper into the products. Let's dive into like some of the whys.
Yeah.
for what you do.
Yeah. And really, it starts with doing hot work is, it can be a challenge. You can't always easily do hot work. Can't always solder, right? It does take training, right? I think it's a challenge. You've got to flare the pipe. In some cases, you might need a permit, right? So there's time involved in
A lot of hot
challenges
work
around
permit,
that.
especially in
Yeah,
commercial
exactly.
applications. I spent most of my career in grocery refrigeration, and if I was doing any brazing anywhere, yeah, absolutely, I was pulling a hot work permit, and a lot of time was added to that job. So definitely a
Right.
component of it.
There's safety risks, right? You've got open flame, right? And you could be up next to a 2x4, you might be next to grass, or you might even be trying to do it in a cramped area where you can't easily get the flame. So there are challenges at times, right? This doesn't mean to say that soldering and brazing goes out the door and it's never should be used, but there are certainly times, there's a time and a place for soldering, there's a time and a place for mechanical fittings. Um,
I
and
agree.
certainly when reliability is key, when you're in these tight situations, when you need speed, when you need a reliable solution over and over and over again, mechanical fittings play a key role.
Yeah. When we talk about, what has happened with the cost of brazing. So
Yeah.
here's a prime example. So today, our original intention was that we were going to do a hands-on scenario where we were looking at brazing. We're going to do a mechanical fitting. Then we're going to do some pressure testing and evacuation to see how the mechanical fitting compared to the brazing. And what happened was something that happens very often in the field. So I knew that I needed to get some extra nitrogen, so I stopped by and I swapped out my nitrogen tank. I thought that I had enough fuel. Once I got here and I got 3/4 of the way through my brazing, I started running out of fuel. And I use my little mini torch. I don't know how many of you use the mini torch set, but my little mini torch set is what I use for almost everything. I don't carry a full-size torch kit anymore, just because I don't have to, and I'm getting older and I don't like carrying 50 pounds. I like carrying 5. So I ended up finding that usually my fuel is very convenient. I can get it at most of my hardware stores. What I found was that we're out in front of a Home Depot right now. Home Depot doesn't actually carry the oxygen, so they carry the fuel, but they don't carry the bottled oxygen. And Paul, exactly. When we talk about any refrigerant, not just these A2Ls that we are now working with, but in our A1 refrigerants, any application where we're working in places that has dust and has fumes and has the potential for additional ignition sources, it can be a very dangerous thing. Now, here is the thing that shocked me the most, Adam, Scott. Okay, I can remember. I'm going to paint my age.
There you go.
I'm gonna paint my age today. I can remember going to the supply house and buying a pound of Silphos 15, which is what I like to use. It has always been a little bit more expensive, but it's such an easy product to work with. I like 5, but 15 is just so convenient to work with. Bob O'Brien, master of the hydronic world. I'm glad that you're joining us here. This is great topic for the hydronic side as well, isn't it? We have to think outside of the box sometimes of the solutions. So I can remember buying a pound of Silphos 15 for $25 to $30. Wasn't too bad. About a year ago, we're actually doing a project for here in the studio. And I bought a pound of Silphos 15 and it was $125. Scott, today. And I kind of feel bad because my boss is on here. Hi, Howard. The smallest tube I could buy was a 1 pound tube. Sometimes you can buy a 2 or 3 stick little mini tube. They didn't have them. I even went to Lennox. I went to APCO and I went to Lennox, and all they had was the 1 pound tubes. Jocelyn, any idea for this little 1 pound tube of brazing rod? $200. $200 for, I think there's typically 10 sticks. I don't have my, you got your eyeballs. I don't have mine on.
It's all right.
Probably 10 sticks. So now we're looking, $20 a stick.
Maybe a little more than that.
For a brazing rod in that ballpark. So as an educator, think about that in the classroom. I know how many pieces of brazing rod you can go through in a class, right? It can get very expensive when we start looking at now $200. We're talking, a 75, 80% increase in a year. And that was the thing that they're starting to see, is that all of our non-ferrous products, all of our copper tubing, all of our brazing material in particularly is starting to escalate in price. So what are our solutions? Well, when we start looking at a company like Bosch, looking at their products going, if a product is UL certified and the procedure is done properly, it is as successful of an installation as brazing. Now, the key is going to be in that success, and we'll be talking about that here in just a little bit.
Yeah, I think I could recommend a product that Bosch would like. We've got a UL product, that is a push to connect fitting, right? It doesn't take the tools. It takes away some of the safety risks. It gives you a consistent and reliable result every time when you use a push to connect fitting for HVAC. And again, is it something you always use? Probably not. But in certain situations, it's great when done correctly. And I know we're going to go through what that means in doing it correctly. But it's a quick and easy install. You don't need any special tools, right? I put them together here, sitting at a desk, and put it together. Didn't have a tool to do it. Don't need fire. You don't need that hot work permit. So it's really a reliable and consistent fitting that you can do quickly, and walk away assured that you've made a reliable connection, assuming you've prepared everything correctly on your job site.
And that's the key. And we'll walk through that as we get a little further into this presentation. We'll do some hands-on demonstration. Adam's going to be doing it from his side. Scott will be doing it, and I will be doing it from this side here, so we can go through some of the proper procedures. But this is a really cool cutaway because it shows us the internals and why it's so important for the prep for these installations.
Yeah, I'm a product geek and love this. So, we talked about UL certified. That's probably number one, because UL, as you've seen on all of your electronics and other things, they're a certifying body in the U.S. They test it thoroughly, so they're assured. We have to make them sure that it's going to work, so that we can make you sure that it's going to work, and assure everybody that it's going to work. So that's a big deal, getting the UL certified. And on top of that, we're certified for A2L refrigerants, so another big deal. When you're talking about push to connect fittings, you're really looking at that O-ring. So kind of towards right of center, you see two black rings there in the cutaway. That's what makes your seal. And those O-rings are fit specifically to the size pipe. So if you have 1/4 inch pipe, you have a diameter of an O-ring fit for a 1/4 inch pipe. We have a patented design where we do two O-rings, gives you a little bit more of a safety factor when using it. Again, so you get a reliable result every time. And you also see just to the right of the two O-rings, there's some steel grip rings in there. That's what holds the pipe together. It's kind of like the old finger cuffs you had. You push it one way, you can't move. When you try to pull it apart, it's not going to work. You can't pull them apart. So those really hold the pipe stable, so it can't be pulled out. And then we're using brass connections. Very reliable, very durable. It's heavy duty, corrosion resistant. So we've put a lot of safety factor into this, into the design of these fittings. And I do see that somebody's asking what's the pressure for these. These are rated up to 870 PSI.
No kidding. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, much higher than any of the test pressures from a manufacturer's equipment test rating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so these will hold up under stress. We design it. We test everything to the extreme. And actually, we'll have a photo in a moment or two that shows how we test it to the extreme. We do crazy things where we'll bend pipe and, there it is. We bend pipe in crazy directions. This isn't something you would obviously find on a job site, but we design it in real world use, or almost unrealistic
Yeah.
world use,
Yeah.
I guess. But we make sure that the vibration doesn't affect it. We make sure that temperatures don't affect it. You can see when you're going from thin diameter to large diameter and back to small diameter, the pressure is changing in the system. So we have to make sure that the pressure can, that the fittings can handle those changes in pressure. So there's a lot going on in the design of the process, but we test it beyond what we need to ensure that it's going to work, because it has to be reliable. It has to be reliable for you. It has to be reliable for the homeowner or the building owner, to make sure it works.
I'm surprised we haven't had the question pop up, because I do hear it quite often. When we have the O-rings inside of a fitting, do they need to be lubricated with any type of oil upon installation?
They're typically lubricated in manufacturing, so it makes it a little. It actually helps us insert the O-rings into the product, and it also it helps the installer. But no, there's nothing that an installer would need to do to lubricate the product. What they do need to do, so O-rings are, they're soft. Because of that, if the installer doesn't prepare the pipe correctly, and Scott's going to show us how to prepare a pipe correctly, but if you don't prepare a pipe correctly, try saying that. If you don't do it correctly, then you could snag that O-ring, and that can obviously cause issues. Number one thing you can do in an installation with a push to connect fitting is prepare the pipe properly, so that you would never snag that O-ring. You deburr the pipe edge, you clean it, you use a tool to clean the edge, turn it a couple times. Again, Scott, I'm sure, has one with him that he'll show you how, but that edge of the pipe needs to be clean.
And I think that's one of the items, Scott, that we really wanted to stress the most, is that prep is the most important part of the entire procedure.
Absolutely.
Right? It's a simple connection, but that process, if not done properly, could be the failure point. I've actually witnessed it myself.
Absolutely.
You know, we had a contractor do an installation at a previous distributor that I had worked at, where they installed 4 new systems in a new training facility. They had a combination of braze fittings and mechanical fittings. So most everything exterior was brazed and interior was a mechanical fitting. And what we found was a lot of leaks. And so it's one of those things, it's like a piece of equipment. If it's not installed properly, it easily gets a bad reputation for not being a reliable piece of equipment. Well, it comes back to, on that particular install, all of those fittings, once they were removed, was realized that they weren't inserted properly. Like, even if they were prepped, they were not inserted properly to the right distance. And after you showed that cutaway, it really helps me understand and visualize what was happening. They might have been getting it into, where the O-ring chamber was, and I don't even know if the fitting that they were using even had any type of gripping mechanism on the inside. But like with yours, you're going past the seal, and then you're actually gripping the tubing so that you have a tight fitting. Plus, you have the seal itself, a double seal, which is quite a nice add-on.
Exactly, it's a great add-on, and it really helps prevent any potential failures. But I'll continue to stress: prepare the pipe. And by the way, Cliff, the reason I stress this, I actually have my own story, and I probably shouldn't say this. This was actually before.
Oh, yes, you should. Yeah. We throw ourselves under the bus so often here.
If my wife were on, she would be the first one to throw me under the bus here. But yeah, it was water, and I didn't prepare the pipe properly, and I actually did 2 things wrong. I didn't prepare the pipe properly, and I didn't insert it as far as I should have. Roughly 3 weeks after I did the repair, I also paid $30,000 to repair the entire bathroom and replace drywall in my family room. But like I tell my wife, I got a new bathroom out of it. So
she got a new bathroom out of it.
She got a bit. That's true. I didn't pick anything. She got a new bathroom.
It was an intentional remodel project, wasn't it? That's what I hear.
But that is why I stress so often: clean the pipe properly, ensure that you're inserting it all the way, because that's how these things can fail.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what do you think? I want to kind of walk us through.
Sure.
We can do both of these cameras. We could take turns on either side. I'll tell you what, let's see what is our best camera here for this. Let me use that one, and I'll step out of the way. You know, this camera's a little glitchy. Scott, let's go grab one of the better cameras. I'll switch us over to, let's do camera 2, and I'll bring that one up front for us. And, or you know what? Camera 3 really is, that's got good lighting over there. Let's go over and check that out, and that way it'll give us a nice clean perspective here.
Sure.
Let's do, well, somewhere in the middle here.
Sure.
All right.
So did a little prep for the copper tube. Again, square cut, deburr.
So using just a traditional tubing cutter.
Tool. I mean, they're probably doing this anyway for whether they some of the exterior will get picked up. So you want to just make sure that's nice and clean. I went ahead and just measured up, you know, how
the distance into the knuckle.
You're gonna insert to the part there.
Okay.
And then so I mark that, and then it just inserts in.
And so making sure, that's a great idea, doing the marking first, making sure that we're going to be set to the proper depth, because I could hear it as it passed through. I could hear it hit first O-ring, second O-ring, and then finally push through and click to seat.
Exactly. Ta-da.
Okay.
That was pretty easy.
That was nothing. Heck, I think I could even do that one.
Yeah. What about if you have to reposition it?
Great point. And it's the nice feature of these that I hadn't realized until we had this conversation.
So if we need to disassemble, are we on the? Okay,
yeah, we should be on that one.
So if we need to disassemble, our disconnect tool has kind of a built-in ramp which depresses the collar there, which gets it past the grip rings, and you just kind of push that in, and that disengages.
Oh,
and you can pull it out.
Kidding. Okay.
And then you can, if you need to go again, no problem.
So it's a reusable fitting.
It is reusable.
That's quite intriguing.
We do call it repositionable. You wouldn't want to take it from job to job. But
no,
if you need to reposition it on a single job, you could do that.
Yeah. So, you know, we do an installation. I could think of, you know, an ideal scenario, like if we're having a remodel and the homeowner's wanting to move the unit, you know, 4 or 5 feet down from its current position for, you know, some type of work or repair, it gives us that ability. Or if we didn't get the depth properly,
you can just, you know, it's not quite there, or whatever. But yeah, you just shove her in.
And I think in a classroom setting where we're showing the proper procedure, I mean, you're going to wear out and tear out those O-rings, but for actual process, it'd be really handy to be able to show.
All right. So, you know, would it help if I continue talking while they come back on, maybe, Jocelyn?
Yeah, we can.
All right. You know, and what I want to make sure that came across, and I apologize to everyone for this. Cliff is certainly a much better speaker than I am, but I'll do my best here. You know, what Scott really just demonstrated is ensuring that you clean the pipe right. So again, taking a deburr tool, he had something similar, cleaning it up a couple times, right? So that's all it takes, knocking off the burrs so that when you insert it into a fitting, it's going to fit in without cutting that O-ring. So that's the biggest part, cleaning it, making sure that there isn't any type of crud on there on the pipe, and making sure that that's cleaned up. I think he also showed, he didn't show it, but you might be able to see on here what I do is I take a marker and mark the depth so that I know how deep I'm going to insert the fitting. And so when I walk away, I can see that I've inserted correctly to that fitting. You know, the next step beyond that would be to ensure that you're preparing everything correctly. The fittings come with a little cap. So you take that cap off. The reason they ship with a cap is so that you don't get any particles on the inside. You want to keep it clean so that when you hook it up to the system, anything that could land in there doesn't end up in your HVAC system. So we always ship these with caps on top, and then when you're ready to install, you take those caps off, and then you simply push it in. It's going to take a little tiny force, but very quick to do, very quick, as you saw Scott putting them together. Just takes a couple minutes, and thankfully, Cliff, you're back, so I don't have to keep talking.
You're doing a great job. We're just sitting here watching and enjoying the.
Oh, we lost him again. Oh no. And Paul did ask, how much out of round pipe can you have? What will I wouldn't give an exact dimension. It's very difficult to give an exact dimension of how far out of round, but you can bend the pipe in here about somewhere between 10 and 20 degrees. And that'll give you an out of round, but those O-rings will hold that pipe appropriately in order to maintain that seal on here. So it is designed to be very robust. I think the problems that you do face in the field that that we've designed around are certainly the vibration, the galling, as you mentioned, temperature extremes. Right, these are designed to go down to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and up to I think it's 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So wide range. You could use it outside, even in the north. And not worry about any O-ring or fitting degradation. So we do design them to be very robust for most applications. In addition to that, we're approved for both hard and soft copper tubing with this fitting. So you can use it in a wide variety of applications. Great for mini splits. Great for great for unitary coils. We've seen it used in commercial applications, refrigeration in like in a pharmacy type area. Cliff, we got you?
Yeah, we're here. It's learning a little bit about when it gets really dark. So we actually had battery capacity, but it's getting really dark outside, and so yeah, I think the temperature, the batteries have a self-protection, and I think they decided that they didn't want to operate. So they're back online now. Dropped out a couple of times, and we even lost our start. So it is weather related, but one of those things that we're learning about being completely off grid in this production.
No worries.
So thanks for running with that. Anyone in the have any questions? Because this might be new.
Yeah. I think one of the things that want to continue to mention is mechanical fittings are continue to expand. They're expanding in the market. Scott demonstrated the HVAC push to connect. Mentioned this fittings for water. This one's great. This one's made out of stainless steel. Can be used underground. You can use it in marine type environments without fear of corrosion. And similar to the HVAC, just push it on. It takes a couple seconds. The other big mechanical fitting that we're seeing in the plumbing and HVAC world is a press fitting. So you would take a fitting, put it on to the pipe. Again, you would mark it and clean it appropriately. For this type of fitting, you would use a tool, and this is a press tool. And you actually run the tool for a moment, take it off, and now it's pressed. And you've got a secure connection. And ours is unique. Again, I mentioned we have a number of patents. When I pressed it, you can see there's a mark here that turned green, and that indicates that it has been pressed. So you can walk away with confidence. And we like to talk a lot about confidence. Same thing with the HVAC product. There's confidence knowing when you walk away, you've got a reliable, robust, and consistent solution from press to press, connect to connect. It's going to be consistent, and that can be a big deal. In larger shops where you want technicians to have consistency between jobs.
No, I love it. That's very much
Yeah.
what we're trying to teach is consistency and, looking at what are the options. Too many times we don't think about what all the other options are. When we look at installations, just like Paul had mentioned earlier, if we're in an attic that is dusty and, places that are environments that really aren't favorable for ignition. It lets us relook at it, especially when we start talking new generations of refrigerants, things like A2Ls and eventually A3 applications as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and A2L, it's a big one. When we talk about the HVAC product, the A2Ls, and being certified with A2Ls, it's a big deal. Again, flame and flammable materials don't play together very well, and that's why mechanical fitting can be a great option for certain areas. I mentioned commercial applications for push to connect fitting. Imagine if Walgreens is having some downtime in their pharmacy. It's not something that you want to have. And so, being able to, technician being able to go in there, make a quick repair, maybe going back later on to do something more permanent, but being able to use a push to connect or a mechanical fitting for a quick repair it's highly beneficial to maintaining uptime in a commercial environment.
Absolutely. We encountered that when we first started moving into A2Ls. ESCO has a complete curriculum on A2Ls and a certification as well. But we have fire marshals that were approaching us with concerns about A2L installations in commercial environments and using, mildly flammable gases. And we actually had a couple of jurisdictions that were trying to ban the use of torches for the installations on the interior of the structures. And many of those have now relooked at what those regulations were going to be, but there was a lot of scare about A2Ls. And when we
Lost his power again. And I think, I want to make sure, that this is coming across. This isn't, mechanical fittings aren't about replacing the trade, right? It's never about that because it still takes a skilled tradesperson to do this. What we're showing, obviously we're showing it, in a controlled environment, and, we're cutting the pipe and we're cleaning the pipe. It does take a skilled technician because that's the repeatable process that we want to make sure that is followed. Is it takes a skilled technician to make sure that the pipes cut square, that that it's cleaned properly, that you're purging the system properly before installing. All of that is critical to the process. And so this isn't something that you want somebody to do DIY. This is somebody you need a skilled professional to do so that you get that consistent result time and time again. So I don't, I've heard worry about push to connect and mechanical fittings replacing the trade, and it's never about that. It's about helping the trade to be more consistent time, and having a reliable result over and over again.
Yeah. Adam, what is the best way for our audience to connect, to learn more, and to be connected with Quick Fitting?
Oh, absolutely. Of course, we have a website, quickfitting.com, QUICK, fitting, FITTING.com. And you can find all of our products, and you can see up there our HVAC Direct website is right there. Customer service at quickfitting.com. If you want any samples, any literature, we're happy to provide that as well.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, I sincerely apologize to everyone for our technical difficulties. We just realized why we were dropping out every time that it would try to reconnect the computer and to the internet. It would switch
switch between cellular and internet. It learned. This was actually a learning opportunity of some cold weather with not much sunshine. You just don't go great together.
Yeah. For this presentation,
and
Cliff,
additional backup. Yeah.
I was just saying, for this presentation, I did not have solar power outage on my bingo card for this presentation. So I guess you win.
That's right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll have some solutions to this issue for next week on Did You Know Go HVAC show. Everyone have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.